Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here, and today we are talking about a possible Tesla van, a review on Tesla's Model Y from the Wall Street Journal, EV incentive changes in the Netherlands, and a couple other notes. Tesla stock on the day today finished up 2.5% to $885.66 to end the week. That compared to the Nasdaq up 2.1% for the day. And strangely enough, today the Nasdaq set new all-time highs. The market was driven in part today by a news release from the U.S. Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, reporting that the unemployment rate actually declined in May to 13.3%. That is down from the 14.7% unemployment rate from April and was better than expectations. Moving into Tesla news then, we have a really interesting report from the Mercury News yesterday, which primarily focused on the Boring Company's project proposal to build a high-speed tunnel in California, linking Rancho Cucamonga and the Ontario International Airport. Support for that proposal was unanimous from the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority Board. That means this proposal will move forward and the county will postpone a $3 million study of other airport/rail connections. If the project is completed, this would result in a roughly 3-mile tunnel, 35 feet underground, using electric vehicles to transport passengers. This is of course where Tesla would come in, and after the meeting happened and the vote happened, San Bernardino County Supervisor Kurt Hagman shared some interesting details on the proposal relating to Tesla. So the Mercury News writes, quote, "Originally, the proposal called for specially designed Tesla cars, but Hagman said the company is working with Tesla to develop electric vans that can seat up to 12 people and their luggage, enlarging the capacity to 1,200 people per day or 10 million plus per year," end quote. Probably a slight misstatement or misquote there. 1,200 people per day is only 438,000 per year, so I'm assuming they mean 1,200 people per hour, which then gets you to that 10 million per year figure. So this isn't the first time we've heard speculation about a Tesla van. If we go back all the way to 2016 and Tesla's Master Plan Part 2, Elon wrote, quote, "In addition to consumer vehicles, there are 2 other types of electric vehicle needed, heavy-duty trucks and high passenger density urban transport. Both are in the early stages of development at Tesla and should be ready for unveiling next year," end quote. However, about a year later in 2017, Elon Musk said, quote, "I don't know if the bus thing really makes sense in the shared fully autonomous environment. If it costs less than a bus ticket to make use of a shared autonomy fleet to go wherever you want, point to point, well, why don't you just use that?" End quote. However, an autonomous fleet doesn't necessarily solve traffic congestion. The Boring Company plays a big role in solving that problem. So then it's a question of whether it makes more sense for autonomous vehicles to, take a ramp or to take an elevator into the tunnel, or to have dedicated vehicles within the tunnel, specifically purpose-built on those high traffic routes. I'm sure the thinking on that has just evolved over time. The Boring Company was actually founded in December of 2016, so sort of in between these comments. So it doesn't seem like the inception of the idea of the Boring Company is what was responsible for the change perspective there, but I'm sure that strategy has evolved over time. In Q4 2019, on the earnings call, Elon Musk was actually asked about this again, and he said, quote, "Will it make sense for us to do sort of a minivan or sort of a Sprinter-like van or something like that? Probably. But like I said, we've got to scale battery production to crazy levels that people cannot even fathom today. That's the real problem," end quote. So it definitely seems like something that is back on the table, and the news today would support that, but likely a small scale project at first, and just like Tesla intends to use the Semi for their own purposes initially, I would assume they would intend to use this van for their own purposes, combined with the Boring Company initially as well. The other important consideration for vans is they're not just used for high density transport. These are often used as work vans, so that's not something that an autonomous vehicle fleet is really going to be able to assist with all that much. The Cybertruck will fulfill some of that demand, but at some point it's definitely going to make sense for Tesla to make more of a van-like vehicle, whether that's on the Cybertruck platform or on Model X or something new. For some context, the van business is actually pretty big. Mercedes does about 15 billion euros in revenue annually on their van business, and GoodCarBadCar.net reports that about 500,000 commercial vans are sold each year in the US. Next today, I wanted to highlight some comments made by a widely recognized auto journalist, Dan Neal of the Wall Street Journal. He has covered the Model Y in an article titled, quote, "Is Tesla's Model Y crossover the world's best car?" End quote. Well, from the review, it seems like Dan Neal's take on that subject is yes. The whole article is worth a read, but just to highlight a few key points, Neal writes, quote, "From behind the wheel of the Model Y, every competitor in the category feels like a sluggish, sloppy antique," end quote, adding that he looks forward to a day when automotive critics can again split hairs over more human factors or more minor factors about vehicles, saying, quote, "Meanwhile, we have this car, this one program, beating the competition on core technology like a drum," From behind the wheel, everything else in this category, Mercedes-Benz GLC 300, Range Rover Evoque, Jaguar F-Pace, Porsche Macan, feels like a sluggish, sloppy antique, a squawking modem trying to connect to the cloud. End quote. Easy to see why people respond to Dan Neal's writing with that sort of prose. He continues that by adding, quote, "From now until about 2030, and irrespective of what the US federal government decrees, global car makers will be shrinking, hybridizing, and digitizing their gas-powered engines until they vanish altogether. The endgame of petroleum will be a decade of dizzy, overtaxed turbo four-cylinders cutting off and on at stoplights, shuddering like washing machines." End quote. Very well written, and I couldn't have said it better myself. All right, next up is some more news on EV incentives. Yesterday, of course, we talked about the changes in Germany. Today, we have news from the Netherlands. The Netherlands is also doubling their federal incentive for electric passenger cars for private sales. There are already significant incentives in place for businesses, but this increases it for private purchase from 2,000 euros for a new vehicle to 4,000. However, as best I can tell, currently no Tesla vehicles meet the requirements here because there is a price range that those incentives only apply to, and that range is between 12,000 euros and 45,000 euros. And that price is post-tax, post-BMP, post-options. So unlike Germany, where we see the base Model 3 slide in under the cap, allowing all trims to receive that full incentive, the Netherlands incentive is not structured that way, and the lowest base price for the Model 3 after VAT is about 49,000 euros. So as best I can tell, unfortunately the Model 3 is not eligible for this at the present time. That doesn't mean that a base vehicle couldn't eventually become eligible for it, but it looks like that would require about a 10% price cut from Tesla. Hopefully any of our Dutch listeners will correct me if I'm wrong on that, but as of right now, I don't see any Teslas listed on the eligible car list from the government on this incentive. Lastly today, I think we finally have confirmation on when Ron Barron is going to be on CNBC. It looks like that will be on Tuesday, June 9th at 7:30 a.m. according to a tweet from Barron Funds. They did not specify the time zone, but I would be fairly confident that they mean 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. So we'll keep an eye on that for any Tesla comments. Last thing today, just a quick note on the schedule for next week. I may be taking a few days off. I'm going to kind of play it by ear based on the news cycle, but I am sort of on vacation right now up at a cabin, and if the weather is nice, I would like to actually enjoy that time during the day and spend it outside. This has been a relatively quiet week, so if it is a little bit more quiet next week as well, then I probably won't have an episode every day, but we'll just kind of see how it goes. Hopefully you guys understand. Anyway, thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and sign up for notifications. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at Tesla Podcast, and I will see you sometime next week. Thank you.